good morning, guys. Today is Friday, April 8th, last day of the 6 weeks. For KAP, please complete this one. You're completing the fraction, decimal, and percent of each number, given all that kind of stuff. Pause and play when you're ready. All right, Carolyn, what did you get as the decimal for 3/8? 0.375. How did you get there?
So I divided.
Very good. Class, how do we remember which number goes where? Awesome. Okay, it doesn't go in, decimal, it goes in 3 times, 4, 6, 0, goes in 7 times, 56, 4, 0, 0, 5. Okay? Okay. If you ever forget, fractions always mean a division sign, so you just divide. Let me recalibrate real quick. All right. Thank you, Carolyn. How can we change that into a percent? Aurelian, do you remember? Dr. Pepper. And Dr. Pepper class, what does the D and the P stand for? Decimal and percent. You start with whatever we're starting with. So Aurelian, we're starting with decimal. And mathematically, what am I going to do when I move it over twice? Mathematically, do you know what that is? Who remembers what I'm doing mathematically? Huh? Not dividing, June. Multiplying by 100, moving it over twice. Okay, the reason is because we're getting it out of 100. Yeah, we're getting it out of 100. So that's going to make it, really, what's the correct percent? Very good, 37.5%. Okay, are we good with that? Very good. If I was wanting to go straight from 3/8 to 100 to a percent, I would have to find that scale factor. Does anyone know what that scale factor is? 12.5. Just let y'all know. 12.5 multiplied by 12.5, and you would get the same thing. You would get that 37.5%. It's just if you wanted to go directly there. If you didn't want to take that middle step, but I think most people like going to the decimal and then changing percent. But that is the option. All right, point 3 repeating class. What alert should be going off in our head? That is what fraction? 1/3. Very good. That repeating is a big thing. Taking it to a percent, volunteers. What would that be, Maria? 33.33. Does it keep repeating?
Yes.
Yes, it does. Very good. Okay. And last one, 150%. Already, what kind of fraction is this going to be? It's going to have a whole and then something left over. Volunteers, what would it be, Ronnie? 1 1/2. Do you know how to get there mathematically besides just knowing? Okay. Hamish? You can, or if you wanted to go straight there. Yeah, percents are always out of how much? 100. 150 out of 100. How many times can I take 100 out? Once, and I would have 50, 100, and 50 hundredths is the same thing as 1/2. Okay, but mathematically you could also turn it into a decimal and then but just making sure. Okay, decimal, if I wanted to start with 150%, I could do the opposite of Dr. Pepper and move it twice to the left because I'm dividing by 100. That's going to move it 2 places over, so 1.5. Okay, fraction, decimal, percent, FDP, very big part of STAR. Okay, we've spent a lot of time on this in the fall, so we're definitely going to be reviewing this material. You ready to keep going? Okay. No homework because y'all had a quiz yesterday. Again, I'll get those posted as soon as I can. We're just going to finish up our financial literacy unit. Today we're talking about like the different levels of education and how that can affect your salary. Okay, so how much you make in the end. Now, all of these that I'm about to talk about are not end all be all. Okay, as you'll know, there's ways to sort of get around the system, meaning that there are people who never attend college, who make more, millions and millions more than this title ever will even dream of making, okay? But this is just the general rule of thumb. Feel good with that? Okay, so different levels of education, starting with high school diploma. Getting your high school diploma is a guaranteed free right for everyone. Everyone who is a citizen of the United States has the right to get a free education up until high school. Okay, that's why when you go to like schools like Seven Lakes and stuff like that, you don't have to pay to go to school. You have to pay for clubs and sports and stuff like that, but those aren't requirements to get your education. But you are guaranteed as a human citizen to get an education. So your high school diploma is guaranteed. It is called a foundational degree. Okay, it's guaranteed for all people. Okay, it is required to enroll in college. It's what you would call a prerequisite. And it is the only education that is always free. Okay, K through 12, those grades are always free. Now, in other countries, unfortunately, the United States is not there yet. There are actually some countries where like college is also free for like most citizens. We are not at that point yet. Hopefully one day, maybe when your kids are kids, or you go into college, that will be true, but unfortunately, we're just not there yet. You can get scholarships, as we talked about, but just know that we are not the elite of the education yet. We're working our ways up there. Okay, GED. GED stands for the General Education Development. Okay, so what a GED is it's sort of an alternative to your high school diploma. As we know in life, some things happen that we don't have control of. And sometimes people have to drop out of high school, maybe to take out care of their family because sometimes parents pass away. Unfortunately, it does happen. Parents pass away or parents can't support a family. And so there are people who have to drop out of high school in order to get a job to help start supporting their families. And it does happen, and we don't want to, in the world, we don't want to punish those people when all of those circumstances are out of our hands. So what they have to help with the high school diploma is the GED. Now the GED is a type of test that substitutes for your high school diploma. And it can help you enroll in college. Now, for example, this is a person who might get their GED, could be, again, someone who drops out in high school and they take a few years off to help get their family on their feet, get them stabilized, get a job and enough savings, but then they decide later that they want to try and attend college. Now, it's not typical that you see like a 20-plus-year-old person in high school. That's weird. It's different. Like those people are at different stages in their life. And so what they do is instead they take this GED. There's like a study book that you can do. You study for this test and then you take this test. And these are for people who get their GED, again, have left high school but are wanting to go back into schooling to maybe get their college degree. Again, those people maybe had to take care of their family, but now that they've gotten stabilized, they want to go get their education now, and they don't, because you need your high school diploma to go to college, they want to take this test instead, because again, they're supporting their family. They don't want to be 20-something-year-olds in high school. That's weird. Okay, so they take the GED. It is usually for adults who don't finish high school. Finish or graduate. There's sometimes a fee you charge for those classes because it's been years since you've taken maybe math or English or something. They have like classes you can take for your GED to brush up, and you'll have to usually pay for those classes. And there's usually also a fee to take the test. Okay, again, that's just an alternative. Okay, from there you get all your higher education. So there's the different levels of college. Okay, the first level we're going to talk about is your associate's degree. So associate's degree are usually talking about specific trainings So this could be like vocational school, it could be cosmetology school, but then there's also other associate's degrees. There's lots of things that you only need an associate's degree with. Usually you begin education at a community college. College. So this is stuff like Lone Star College is out here, Houston Community College, stuff like that. When you go to a community college, it's usually completed in 2 years. And tuition is charged, but it's going to be reasonably cheaper. It's usually cheaper. The reason why it's cheaper is because you're not going to school for as long. You're usually not, a lot of community colleges don't have on-campus housing. A lot of these people are staying home to take classes. They're working, and it's a lot of places that don't have like sports. They don't have a lot of things that they have to pay for. Like the university itself doesn't have to pay for anything. Like HCC does, I don't believe that they have any sports. They don't have any on-campus housing. It's just you go to school, you take the class, you go home. Okay. Remember, if I'm teaching, you're usually not talking because that's rude. Thank you so much. Community college generally is cheaper than a university. Okay, so electricians, mechanics, people who want to go into cosmetology, which is like hair or nail kind of stuff, you can definitely make a living on all of those types of things. Again, mechanics and electricians and some tech support type stuff, they even make more than this idol, okay? And they're getting a seal because they don't have to pay for as much money, okay? So associate's degree are really not that bad if that's maybe your lifestyle that you're wanting to choose. Miss Lytle also took, like, just for perspective, I got what's called a bachelor's degree, and I took classes at community college over the summer because I wanted to make sure I was graduating as much on time as possible. But I could get classes out of the way. I could transfer credits that I took at HCC over the summer when I was staying at home and working, and I could make those count towards my degrees. That's the way some people make their tuition go further, is that they just take some classes over the summer. Does that make sense? Any questions? Yeah.
Change my degree.
Yeah, you can change your degree. That happens all the time. You apply to a college. You're saying, okay, I want to be an engineer. And then you take your freshman classes, your freshman engineering classes, and you're like, oh my God, I hate this. Let's become you can discover that what you thought you liked, you don't actually like, and maybe you discover other passions along the way. And that's when people change their names. That happens all the time, like all of the time. Okay. I almost changed my major, but then I was like, no, fam. I was gonna change it like my junior year in college. And they were like, well, none of your credits are going to transfer to your new degree. I was like, JK, LOL, I'm good. I'll just finish. I was thinking about becoming like a math major, but then none of my education credits were going to transfer. I was like, what am I going to do with a math degree anyway? Teach. Wow. Okay, so I just did that. Other things? We're going on. Yes.
They teach you how to teach.
Yes. Yeah. In education majors, they focus more on the teaching stuff rather than the knowledge of all the things. Okay. And they don't just focus on math. Like I took classes for math and science and all that kind of stuff. Okay. Moving on. All right. The most common though is the bachelor's degree. If Lytle has a bachelor's degree, most of your parents, not all of them. Yeah, my dad doesn't even have his bachelor's degree, but he did just fine. But most parents who go to college have their bachelor's degree. This one is usually completed in 4 years. Again, sometimes it takes more, sometimes it takes less, just depending on you and your life. Courses of study completed at a university. And tuition is more expensive than a community college. Okay, again, reasons why it costs more is because there's sports and you're sort of kind of paying for all of the perks that come with having sports, having campus housing, having food, blah, 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 lots of things. Yes. A PhD is going to be down here for a doctorate, and so we'll talk about that in a second. Okay, PhD is like the highest level. Okay, and it is the most often pursued. Bachelor's is the most often pursued. Again, bachelor's is sort of a prerequisite for everything following it, so most people have it. A lot of jobs require a bachelor's degree. Again, not all, but a lot of them do. Okay. Next is the master's degree. So, master's degree is sort of like an extra step. It's like your bachelor's plus a little extra. Master's degree is completed anywhere from 1 to 3 years, just depending on the master's degree you got. If y'all have been to Miss Rudd, you're gonna y'all know who Miss Rudd is. She's the teacher who teaches half 6, half 7. Okay, she has a master's degree in education. And so what she did is when she was getting her bachelor's degree in education, she actually was in a program that it was called the 4+1. 4+1 equals 5. It only took her 5 years to get her bachelor's and her master's degree because while she was working on her bachelor's, she started taking some of her master's classes. And so it only took her 1 extra year to get her master's because she was sort of double dipping there. Okay, she had some extra homework at times, but she graduated instead of in like 7 years because she double dipped. She graduated in only 5. Yes.
What's the best degree you can get?
PhD is the highest level that you can get, and people can get multiple PhDs because they're cool kids, but that's up to you. And remember, that costs money too. So it all depends on that. So master's degree completed in 1 to 3 years. It is it always has a bachelor's degree, as a prerequisite, meaning you have to have that before you can earn your master's. It is more advanced study and completed at a university. Okay, so this is just going deeper into education. So for example, Ms. Lytle got her bachelor's degree in education. For your master's, you might go a little bit more specific into education. So you could get your bachelor's degree in, like, I'm always going to use education as my example because that's the one that I know. You get your bachelor's degree in education, and then you can get a master's in, like, education leadership. So, like, if you want to become a principal at a school, you have to go get a master's degree, okay? Because you're studying what it means to be a leader at the school. It's a little bit deeper into the education system. Does that make sense? Okay? And then lastly, you have your doctoral degree, which is the same thing as the PhD. Okay, PhD, I don't hear that term, but it's the same thing as your doctorate. This is the highest level of education.
When you know everything?
Sure. Doctorates still don't know everything because they're only getting their doctorates in a specific skill, but then people can go get multiple doctorates because they're really cool kids. Okay, because you can get it, I don't know, you can get it as well. And so usually when you're doing your doctorates, you're going even further, like you have this certain topic that you're really honing in on, like really narrowing it down. And it is offered at universities. It is also called a doctorate of philosophy, doctorate of philosophy. That's what the PhD, philosophy, doctorate, philosophy. Okay, it is abbreviated to the PhD. Medical doctors, they aren't called PhDs, they're called MDs. Okay, because it's medical doctorate. And then in order to get doctorates, you have to have your bachelor's and your master's, and then you get your PhD. So you must have bachelor's and master's. Okay, and that's when you get to add extra letters at the end of your name. Yes. MBA. MBA is a master's in business. It's a master's in business something. Okay, if your parents have MBAs, they usually have a master's in business. So administration, master's in business. And if that's wrong, ask your parents and they'll know because they have it. So Miss Milo doesn't have that, so she doesn't really know that. I'm gonna say that. That's the truth. Okay? I'm gonna answer questions in my class. Okay, no. All right, so moral of the story is the more education you get, usually the higher your salary. Again, it's not guaranteed, but it usually means because you're getting more and more training in that field of studies, generally as you increase the amount of school, as you keep going, usually you make more money. So that's why like doctors who have gotten all of this education, they generally make more because you've done so much more training than someone who maybe only got right. Okay, so we're just gonna look, hold on, did I do all the notes? I did, okay. So we're gonna finish up the notes and then we'll do a little practice.
How do you remember all this stuff?
You know how people work out and get stronger? I work my brain muscle a lot and it gets stronger, so I don't have to lot of things. And that's what you're doing in school. You're just working out all the time with your brain. Okay? Okay, moving on. So, how to compare salaries. We want to make sure that the salaries or wages reflect the same time period. You can't compare how much someone makes in an hour to how much someone makes in a year because they are not the same time period. Okay? If we need to convert the correct time period, we always want to start with the original salary, and then take the shortest route possible. I'll show you what that means. Shortest route possible. I will show you. So, for example, if I wanted to compare these two things, if I want to compare a power plant operator to a teacher, get ready to cry from this bottle, it's okay, I'll be fine. Let's compare. So, in the power plant operator, they gave us an hourly rate versus a teacher, we usually get paid annually. So that means we get paid for the year, okay? They don't calculate how many hours I work as a teacher. They just say, okay, here's the year rate, we'll split it over all the weeks. That's what you get to live off of, okay? But we can't compare those two because this is an hour and that's a year. We cannot compare those. So in order to compare them, we need to get them to the same page. So we're going to actually switch both of them just so you can have perspective. We're going to change the plant into a year and then we're going to turn the teacher into an hour just to see. Okay, so let's do one together and maybe I'll let you do the teacher on your own. So for the power plant operator, determine the power plant operator's monthly earnings. Okay, so just talking about monthly earnings. Here is a reference over here. I'm sorry, skip over this. This is sort of a helpful reference. So generally, you'll hear that people will work a 40-hour work week. That's when you work a 9-to-5 job, 5 days a week. Okay, that's going to be 40 hours a week. The rest of this, you should know that there's 52 weeks in a year, 12 months in a year, and a month is generally what? A month is 4 weeks. Okay, is this always true? No. Okay, there's odd months where it starts late and then it ends early and it ends up being like 6. It happens. Sometimes it overlays like 6 weeks, but in average, it's 4 weeks. Only weird one is 1 week is 40 hours. So to determine the monthly earnings, we first need to turn this hourly wage into a week and then the week into a month. So we're going to start by getting the weekly earnings. Oh my gosh, I can't talk. So weekly, I'm going to take that 31.29 and I'm going to multiply by 4. Okay, because I am who I am today, someone get out of the calculator. Let's do this. If I don't mess up, this is why we're using a calculator. We times 40. Sorry. Times 40 because that's the number of hours in a week. So it's going to be what again?
1,251.6.
1,251.6D. Okay, so that's the 40 hours. You could put hours per week. And then that's for 1 week. So multiply that times 4 to get the month. Okay, weeks per month. So when I multiply that by 4, I'm just gonna go ahead and tell you the answer because I can. It's gonna be $5,006.40. Okay, so that's how much they earn in a month. Then if I wanted to figure out annual, what would I do with that number? Times by 12. Okay, $5,006.40 times 12. Go ahead and multiply that. Huh? Yeah. What was that?
$60,076.80.
And how many cents? 80. Yeah, correct. That's the number you said, payment. Okay. Now I will let y'all know on the key. Okay, so this is where you can get into annual salaries and stuff like that. What they actually did, because technically it's a shorter way, is they said, okay, this was 1 week's earnings, correct? What they actually did is they did that 1 week, 1,251.60, and they actually multiplied that by 52, because that's a shorter path. It's not going to be that big of a deal. 65,083.20. Okay, so the reason why this is more accurate is because when I only multiply by 12, because of those months where it isn't 4 weeks, you sort of lose some of the calculation. This is a more accurate representation. Okay. Ms. Lidle's not going to trick you in any of the questions. I've seen the questions where we haven't. I know those numbers are different and they are different. Don't worry about this too much when it comes to comparing annual salaries. You'll just do some problem in a second where you'll see. Okay. But are they close-ish? There's a difference of how much? 5,000. In either case, can we compare that to how much a teacher makes? Looking at this amount, are they greater than how much the teacher makes? Are they considerably more? Does Ms. Lidle cry at night when she thinks about this? Okay, so we understand, we get the point. Great, awesome. Okay, again, sometimes, and you notice that for the education required, sometimes it's just an associate's degree. Okay, they're making lots more money and they went to 2 years less of college. Okay, we're fine. I'm okay. We're good. So, bachelor's degree isn't always the answer to everything. If that's something that interests you, like working on cars, working on how circuits work and stuff like that interests you, maybe associate's degree is the life. You can live a happier, more joyful life in the Bible. And you don't get to see smiling faces like y'all every day. You get a power button and it's a bunch of holes with electricity going through them and no one's smiling. The name of it object. Okay, less fun. All right, do y'all want to try the teachers? Okay, let's make a plan. So if that's my annual salary, how can I find out the weekly earnings? Divide by 52. Ready, set, go. Yes. All right, we should get about $923. It goes to like 0.76. I'm gonna just stop. I always stop at the third decimal. Why? Because it rounds to my pennies. That's gonna round it to 8 pennies per week. Okay. So then to get the hourly pay, this one I would then, so if that's per week, how many hours do we generally work per week? 40. Okay, so I'm going to take that 9 to, literally, this is what I get per week. Away for 2 days. I can't write numbers. It should be 923. No, that's 92. That was correct. I'm so sorry. $923. Ignore the slide. 0.8. Okay. And then we're going to divide that by 40. Do some math. Ready, set, go. Here we go. We got 23.077. That would round it to $23.08. Okay? So, because looking at this compared to the hourly rate of a plant operator, does it seem like that much? Does that look like that much of a difference?
Wait, that's an hour?
Does that look like that much of a difference?
Yeah.
No.
Not really upfront. Okay, yes, I can tell that there's a difference, but when you multiply that over the year's time, does that make a big difference? Absolutely. Okay, so always figure out and compare your things. Okay, so compare the annual salaries. Who earns more? Power plant. Okay, to figure out how much more they earn, we would subtract. Okay, in this case, they subtracted the annual here versus the annual here. I'm not going to worry about that too much. Okay, if I was comparing their lifetime incomes, what that means is you're comparing how much they're going to make in their lifetime. To do this, it will tell you how much they're going to work in their lifetime. So in here, power plant operator is going to work 30 years, and then the teacher's going to work 32. Again, Ms. Little's going to go ahead and do this math for you, just to speed up the process, and we're going to just see how much over a lifetime, how much more they earn. Okay, so we're going to take that teacher salary of the $48,000, and we're going to multiply that by the 32 years that they're working. If they do that, the teacher's going to make $1,536,000. Okay, but that's over 32 years. Okay, that's not much. Okay, let me just tell you. Oh my God, I was going to be a millionaire. No,
Also, their living expenses.
exactly. About like 2/3 of that is going to my house. Okay, versus the power plant. Again, I'm going to take this value. This one's the more accurate one. That's 65,000. And I'm going to multiply that by 30. Okay, so they're going to make $1,952,496. Okay, what? What do you mean what? Miss Idle's having a hard day. Okay, 1,952,496. Okay, to figure out how much more, we're going to subtract those numbers. Miss Idle realizes that they are not in the correct order. Miss Idle also discussed the energy. But if I were to subtract those, obviously I would put the bigger number on top, and I would subtract, and I would get $416,496. Okay, that's how much more that the power plant operator is going to make, and they're working 2 years less than. Do I cry at home every night? Oh, God, how much money I don't make? Yes. Okay, do I stop that? Do I let that stop me from living? Yes. Never. Okay, so this is how you compare salaries. This is why people get more or less education. But again, these people are only getting associate's degrees a lot of the time. So, huh? Yeah. All right. So, I don't know that we're gonna have just time for this little activity. What I'm probably gonna let y'all do is just work on this homework. Right now, let's say work on the odds right now, and then evens will be the homework. Okay. Good night and thank you.